Hi, this is a technical audio walkthrough of Liminus, the Silent Guard. I was lucky enough to be invited by BYU Animation to design the sounds and implement audio for this game. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the Unreal and Wwise projects. This was my first project in Unreal and Wwise, and my implementation efforts were mostly self-guided. There's a lot to look at, so let's dive in. Welcome to Liminus, also known as the Land of the In-Between. You play as the Shepherd, protecting lost souls in the form of sheep from packs of dark wolves, guiding the sheep to shrines on your path to Heaven's Gate. If you take a look in the Wwise Project Explorer, you can see there's loads of unique ambient emitters, character sound suites, interactive environment and puzzle sounds, as well as audio Easter eggs to be found. I used a variety of actor mixers and containers to handle the assets I designed in FL Studio. I designed the sounds from a range of sources, including my own field recordings, synthesized sounds, samples from friends, and library samples from Splice. I created a lot of events for this title. It was really important that I keep the Project Explorer organized in order to keep track of everything going on in the game. Right now, you're hearing an assortment of character abilities and UI sounds. Next, we'll take a look at two of my favorite events in the game. First is an Easter egg that plays at the top of this hill. I implemented in-key vocals that the game's composer, Tanner Johnson, expressly wrote as a form of environmental storytelling. In this case, the player walks through a trigger box, a subtitles widget created by a student UI designer appears, and then the vocal lays itself on top of the soundtrack. Second is the Ruins puzzle. Once the player lights the sconces, the ruins magically reconstruct and free a group of sheep. I used a sequence node in the Ruins blueprint to initiate the magical reconstruction sound at the proper part of the sequence and keep things separate from the rest of the nodes. After the ruins finish reconstructing, another Easter egg vocal plays. Heading back into the Wwise project, you'll see that I set up lots of custom attenuation curves. Honestly, dialing in so many curves took a long time, and I think the overall mix is all the better for it. Nailing down the attenuations for the wolves' footsteps was particularly challenging, as I wanted to be sure that there was enough volume for players to anticipate the enemy's approach without overwhelming their ears when many wolves are nearby. These attenuations also helped manage overall voice counts, ensuring that the sounds I'd expect the player to hear never get killed. Switches were used for footsteps and sounds that were tonally centered around the musical key of a level. I'll talk more on that in a moment. Tanner created these game states for the music, and the RTPCs listed were used to control Wwise's audio buses in the game settings. When the player opens this gate and crosses over to the second level, they enter a switch. That switch changes the key of certain diegetic, tonally centered sounds, like the shrine delivery bell and the shepherd's horn, to match the key of the new level's soundtrack. I had some help setting up the other switches. We landed on using a line trace system to detect which materials the player is walking on. Perhaps my favorite part of this project was placing hundreds of ambient emitters throughout the levels. These emitters layer on top of a looping bed to fill out a sense of immersion in the world and highlight points of interest. There's a wide range of ambiances, like winds rustling through the trees, gentle cricket chirps hiding in the tall grasses, bubbling pools, roaches, gurgling dark energies, and menacing wolf den auras. I set up a few reverb volumes throughout the world, my favorite being in the cave. I used the priority system and fade rates to smoothly transition between reverbs. Of course, many character sounds were tied to Anim Notifies in montages and sequences. Next is an example of the audio bus controls I set up via Wwise RTPCs. It's fun to make a little widget for player use. And it works! I also used the advanced profiler to investigate things I didn't understand, like the sound doubling due to a second player camera being added in debug. By the end of the project, I made use of Soundcaster sessions in Wwise to hone in on the final mix of the game. This is a recording of me spamming certain sounds to hear what happens with the final mix. Thank you for taking the time to check out my work. As I mentioned earlier, this was my first big project in the Wwise Unreal integration, and I welcome any feedback that you might have for me. If you have any questions or comments regarding my audio design or implementation on this project, please feel free to send me a message. And you can check out Liminus the Silent Guard on Steam for free.